In 2016, researchers working on the eastern shore of Lake Turkana in Kenya uncovered the remains of 27 people, men, women, children, killed approximately 10,000 years ago. At a site called Nadaruk, the bones told the story clearly. Blunt force trauma to skulls, obsidian blades embedded in ribs, one woman's wrists still bound at the time of death. These were not people who had been buried. They were people who had been destroyed by other people who were angry enough, or afraid enough, or hungry enough to do what those bones record. We tend to think of anger as a very human problem, a modern problem, even, something that needs managing, regulating, therapy. But what Nadaruk suggests, and what decades of neuroscience, primatology, and evolutionary biology confirm, is that anger is not a modern invention. It is one of the oldest things in us. The question is whether the anger that drove those hands 10,000 years ago is the same anger that rises in us today. At its core, anger originates in the amygdala, a small structure deep in the brain that predates the cortex, predates language, predates anything we would call thought. When the amygdala registers a specific kind of threat, not physical danger, but boundary violation, it triggers a cascade that floods the body with norepinephrine and cortisol, tightens the jaw, narrows the vision, and sends heat through the chest. That physical signature is identical in every human culture ever studied. Paul Ekman, who spent decades mapping facial expressions across isolated populations worldwide, found that the face of anger, lowered brows, pressed lips, fixed stare, required no translation. Everywhere, by everyone, immediately recognized. That does not happen with learned behaviors. It happens with things written into the hardware. We share that hardware with our closest relatives. Franz de Waal, who studied chimpanzees for decades, documented primate anger in forms that are instantly recognizable. The charging display, the raised hair, the fixed gaze, the open-mouthed scream. But he also found something more interesting, the social function of anger. Chimpanzees do not simply explode. They use anger strategically. A low-ranking male denied food does not always attack. Sometimes he makes a display, forces a confrontation, shifts the social dynamic. Anger, in these cases, is not destruction. It is negotiation. Robert Sapolsky, whose work on stress in baboons spans 4 decades, made the same observation. The baboons he studied used anger, or the threat of it, as a primary tool for maintaining social order. What struck him was the precision of these confrontations. Baboons rarely fought to the death over food. They fought just enough to establish who had the right to it. Anger was already operating not as raw aggression, but as social signal, a communication. This suggests the emotional architecture of anger arrived in our lineage not with modern humans, but with the social primate brain, perhaps 3 to 5 million years ago, when competition for resources inside groups became as important as competition between them. Here is where the research becomes genuinely surprising. Franz de Waal's most famous experiment did not involve chimpanzees. He trained capuchin monkeys to exchange pebbles for food, a simple transaction performed reliably for months. Then he changed one variable. One monkey received a cucumber, while the monkey beside it received a grape. The monkey receiving the cucumber had been perfectly happy with cucumber moments before. Now it refused, threw it back through the bars, became visibly agitated, slamming the pebble against the floor. The word that kept appearing in descriptions of this behavior was unmistakable. These monkeys were not just disappointed. They were indignant. They had a sense of fairness, and its violation made them angry. What this revealed is that anger is not only a response to physical threat. It is also a response to injustice, to the sense that the terms of a social arrangement have been violated. Capuchin monkeys and humans share a common ancestor that lived roughly 35 million years ago. The fact that both species respond to inequity with something that looks like moral outrage suggests those roots run very deep indeed. The fossil record cannot show us emotional states directly, but it shows us behavior. The site at Nadaruk is the oldest confirmed evidence of group-on-group violence, but the capacity appeared long before. Cima de los Huesos in Spain, 430,000 years ago, contained skulls with repeated targeted blunt force trauma, injuries that forensic analysis suggests were deliberate. Someone hit someone else in the same place, more than once, with enough force to kill. Anthropologist Michael Tomasello argues that one of the defining features of human societies is the punishment of free riders, individuals who benefit from group cooperation without contributing to it. In human groups, that punishment is almost always anger-driven. When we catch someone cheating, we do not simply exclude them. We feel something specific, something hot. We want them to know that what they did was wrong. That impulse, punish the violator, enforce the norm, appears in human societies everywhere on Earth, across all cultures, without exception. Anger, in this framework, is what makes cooperation stable. A group that could not feel moral outrage, that could not be moved to confront violations of fairness, could not enforce shared rules, could not punish those who took without contributing. The capacity to feel genuinely angry about injustice is not a flaw in the human social system. It is part of what built that system. Primatologist Richard Wrangham offers a striking perspective on this paradox. His research on human self-domestication argues that over hundreds of thousands of years, Homo sapiens selectively reduced reactive aggression, the sudden explosive violence seen in other great apes. But we did not reduce proactive aggression, the calm, calculated, coalition-based action used to eliminate threats. If anything, that capacity increased. We became, in Wrangham's phrase, simultaneously tamer and more dangerous. What this means for anger is that the ancient human was not simply a creature of blind rage. The evidence suggests something more controlled, more purposeful. Anger in the Paleolithic served specific social functions, asserting status, defending territory, enforcing fairness, signaling commitment. And in most primate societies, the majority of angry confrontations do not end in physical contact at all. The display, the charge that stops short, the scream that conveys without striking, is precisely designed to resolve conflict without the cost of injury. Anger, in this light, is a language, one that emerged long before words. And yet, the hardware underneath all of that purpose has not changed. When something violates your sense of fairness today, when someone cheats you or dismisses you in front of others, the first thing that happens is not a thought. It is a sensation. Heat in the chest, tightening of the jaw, a narrowing of focus. That response arrives before your cortex has time to say anything. It arrives from somewhere older. The difference between ancient and modern anger may be what comes next. The ancient human who felt that surge acted on it. The display, the confrontation, the resolution. We have something they likely did not. The capacity to turn anger into a story, to ruminate, to replay the violation, feeding it with memory and narrative until it becomes something the original amygdala response never intended. That part, the storytelling, the grudge, may be more modern, but the surge itself? That is as ancient as the primate brain, as ancient as social life itself, as ancient as the first moment one creature looked at another and understood, without language, that something was unfair. The bones at Neanderthal are silent about what those people felt in the moments before they died. But if anger can be traced through neural architecture, through primate behavior, through the universal signature of a human face, then something was there. Something that did not require 10,000 more years of civilization to be real. Something recognizable, because the anger was already ancient, and so were we.